Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy! Welcome to Ages of Rock podcast episode 11. This week we have guest JoJo Weekend, and I'm going to hand it over to Dennis.
Alrighty. Like I said, if you were a metal fan or a hard rock fan or a local band fan back in the 80s, you might know this guy. Especially he came out of Indianapolis, but being from southern Indiana, saw him quite a few times. Out at Kramer's Lake, saw him open up at Mesker, and we're glad to have JoJo Weekend on. He's going to sit here and talk to us for a little bit about his history and about the bands that he's been in, and maybe a few road stories. How you doing, Joe?
Very good. Very good to be with you guys today. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Great. Joe, a little bit of background on you. When did you start playing? At what age? And what was your influences at that time?
Do we really want to go to the year or age? Because
sure.
When it's snowing outside in Madison right now, I might tell you. I started playing a tennis racket as a guitar in 1966. I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan in 1964, and I admired that, and so therefore I was at my aunt's house in Indianapolis, and I picked up a tennis racket and imitated playing guitar as if I was in the Beatles, and I obviously am not in the Beatles, but I played a tennis racket until 1972 was when I picked up, about 1971 was when I started, I bought my first guitar and amplifier for $12, and it was a Heit guitar, H-E-I-T,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was made by Sears, and a Sears amplifier. I bought it from my neighbor for $12. And I started playing on my front porch in Washington, Indiana. Started playing, stuff that was on the radio back then. BTO, Alice Cooper, Sweet. Anything that was on the radio. And back then, radio was pretty much WLS in Chicago, out of Chicago.
Right.
And albums that I bought, and 45s, that's when they had actual vinyl. So yeah, that's when I started playing. About 1972, I took it seriously. I went to a friend's house. I would walk like 2 miles. Back then there wasn't, taxis or anything, but I would walk like 2 miles to my friend's house, who showed me my first 3 chords. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
He showed me my first 3 chords, and the first song I learned on guitar was Dead Skunk in the Middle of the Road by Loudon Wainwright.
Right.
What a coincidence.
That was the first song that I was taught by my friend, and he pretty much showed me my first few guitar chords. His name was Stuart May. He's still alive, still a friend of mine. And then I pretty much started playing by ear at that point, and I have many scabs on my ear. Can you see?
Yeah.
Playing by ear at that point, and then picked it all up and progressed fastly after that.
All righty. Now, I guess from that point, you were like typical, like we did. You had your high school, your garage bands, and everything like that.
Yes. From day one, whatever band I was in, we wanted to be the shit. Can I say that?
Right. Oh yeah.
We wanted to be the main thing, and I remember in '75 we opened for REO Speedwagon on banks of the Wabash Festival in Terre Haute, Indiana. And that was a big thing. That was kind of fun. And we played, like you said, we played my high school, And it was funny because when I was in high school, there was the musician types like me with wearing like leather collars and shit, and there were the jocks. And funny thing was, I was screwing all the jocks' girlfriends.
The rock star image started early.
Yeah, they would pick on me, but little did they know. So after, sorry, my girlfriend heard that.
See, you're going to incriminate yourself, so we won't edit anything out. We don't have to now because she knows.
And then when I was in high school in 1976, I joined a band that had formed called Man, Myth, and Magic, and that was a pretty successful band in the Washington area. We played all around southern Indiana, Evansville, and
Right.
It was a cover band, but we had a few originals. But before that, I had started writing music before that band. I started writing actually as soon as I picked up the guitar.
Right.
And my brother Bill, he has several of those songs on CD now. But yeah, a lot of those songs they were modeled after Kiss and the stuff I was listening to at the time.
Exactly.
So what age was that around? Were you still in high school then, or was that post high school?
It was high school. I was 15 or 16.
Cool.
Okay. So from jumping from that, and when you now you joined Wild on Earth as they were already a band when you joined up, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Because they were what late 70s when they started, or
They formed in 77, around 77 or 78.
and then you joined them when then in
I joined them in the spring of 1981.
81.
Right
Okay.
before that, I lived in Washington, and then in 1979, I moved to Indianapolis and joined a band out of Anderson that used to be called Zeus, that changed their name when I joined them to Rockomatic.
Okay.
Very cool band called Rockomatic. Drummer Kovacs sadly passed away from cancer, and the other guys are still alive. But that was a very fun band for me, and later, when I joined Y on Earth, the bass player from Rockomatic, DJ Mace, was on Y on Earth's second album. So there was a connection there as well.
So you came in. Had they already recorded the first album whenever you came in, or was you on the first album?
I wrote most of the first album.
Okay, great. That's why, because I seen a video of it earlier. I was doing a little homework, and I seen where it was. I can't remember which song it was. Oh, like "To Keep Me Happy." And I seen that Jason was in the band at that point, and they said he was the new guy. So how long after Jason joined did you come in then?
I joined in 1980, and I joined in the spring of 81.
Gotcha. So did the singer who was in there at that point, did he leave, and then that's when you came in, or what's?
Duval was the singer, and he was a very good singer. He was we were in the band together for a couple of years, and then there was a time where he thought the band was getting too heavy.
Right.
And it's ironic that he joined a band from Louisville. I forget their name, not fire department, but somebody else. That was a lot heavier than what we were doing. We were doing Judas Priest songs and writing heavy stuff ourselves.
Right.
But it was ironic that he quit our band to join another band that played more heavy stuff. It was kind of funny, but he was a good guy. I miss him. He passed away as well.
Right.
It's like the older we get, the more people we know pass away.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, like I said, I remember you coming. My place was Kramer's. I used to see you out at Kramer's Lake, and I'm sure did you play? I guess you played Fisher's. Did you ever play Fisher's Lake out there in southern Indiana?
Rings a bell, but that's too many brain cells ago.
And then probably Calumet. You probably played the Calumet.
Oh, bunch
Yeah.
of times. And old Ed, you guys gotta play more Loverboy. Play the Loverboy.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to, as a shameless promotion, our band Fifth Degree Burn, we were able to play up there at the Calumet right before they closed it down. And actually, Mike Beck was running that place at that time. Yeah, he was the last person that managed it. And then after Calumet closed down, that's when he bought JR's up there about a year later. And then we started playing up. We followed him over to there then.
We played the Calumet, and when we played, I guess a few times we had the house record attendance-wise.
Wow.
The floor used to shake up and down above the lake. And
Right.
Yeah. It was pretty weird. And I remember, let me tell you this story. A bass player that I played with often his name is Tracy Williams. He was backstage when Wyatt Earp was playing, and I go, here, have a shot of Jack. And I gave him a shot of Jack out of, fifth Jack, I guess it was back then. And in a Sprite can, I had poured a whole Sprite can full of Jack Daniels to take on stage with me. So you wouldn't see the bottle on stage because that was prohibited. But I said, here, Tracy, have a shot of Jack. So he took a big shot of Jack. I went, here, have a chaser. Chaser. That's just a fun story. Anyway,
So that's kind of a Lemmy chaser then, isn't it?
yes, exactly.
But yeah, like I said, I remember seeing you guys out there, and one thing that was always impressive, of all the bands that came out to Kramer's and those in places like that, everybody was a cover band. Everybody was a cover band. But when you guys come out there, hell, you were playing a lot of your own tunes, and that was unusual for us to get bands like that in Evansville. Everybody maybe they'd have like one tune or so, but you guys played quite a few of your own stuff out there. And I thought that was really neat.
Yes, yeah, we did. We tried to promote that stuff. We had our first record deal was on Rave On Records with the first single that I wrote called "Call Me Anytime" in 1982.
Right.
And that was by Bob McCutcheon had Rave On Records. He worked at Sunshine Promotions back in the day.
Right.
And he tried to submit that to Indiana Bell as a promotion thing.
That's cool.
Go ahead and use your card or whatever. Yeah. Paula's bringing this to you. There it is.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
Thanks. And there's a Wyatt Earp button there. Can you see that? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
awesome.
yeah. Thank you, honey. But yeah, and then that was Rave On Records, and then we formed our own record label at that point and put out our first album. It was America International Records. You guys have the record with you? Feel It Coming On album?
Uh-oh.
I think it was. I forget kind of, but I think America International Records came later. But anyway, so yeah, that came out first, and then Feel It Coming On record came out, and that was right after Scott left. Scott Duvall, the singer I was talking about previously.
Right.
And actually, Wyatt Earp had a full record ready to release before I joined the band. The songs you spoke of, "To Keep Me Happy" and that stuff, and that was produced by Roadmaster's keyboard player Michael Reed, Bone Reed.
Right.
And that was supposed to be put out first, but it never got released. It's available, but it never was released. But "Feel It Coming On" was released, and then I'm talking too much. Sorry.
No, you're doing fine.
No,
That's it.
But and then the second album, Action, that was after a couple of personnel changes. Like I say, Scott left the band before "Feel It Coming On" record came out, and Action, the bass player left, and at that time,
We got.
Coming On was our drummer. At the time, I felt like we overplay too much. We simpler, more AC/DC type drummer, and that was kind of the vibe that it was back then. So we hired Mark Cutzinger from Zero Boys in Toxic Reasons. He's a pretty famous drummer now. So we hired him, and we got DJ on bass after that because I think Ricky and Jeff left at the same time. So then we recorded our second album at Hit City Studios in Indianapolis with Paul Mayhern, the singer of Zero Boys. And that got released, and we toured the crap out of the country. We were doing about 300 days a year for about 6 or 7 straight, from Florida to California.
Well, I don't think that we're not trying to talk with you and everything, but every time that we do that, your voice kind of drops out. So we're trying to. Alan's going to be able to try to raise your voice up a little bit. So that's why we're not interjecting as much. Okay. Real quick, I had a real quick question too about those early songs. I had an album back in the day, and I just have a copy of it. YER used to put out a home cooking album or home rocking album, they called it back in the day. And there was a song on there that sounds a lot like your stuff, but I can't find that disc again. And did you ever put one in on one of those albums and get it released on one of those or not? The home cooking albums.
There was a couple of compilations in Indianapolis, but I don't remember the home cooking album stuff.
Okay, it may not be you guys. It sounds a lot it sounds a lot like Why on Earth, but like I said, I don't have a copy or the list of who's on it, and it's just my guess at that point. So, but.
So Joe, you said you did 360 or 300 shows that from that Action album. That was actually my introduction to Why on Earth. I had that cassette and wore that bad boy out, so which was good. I mean, it was great music. And I did note at the time how local it was. I'm originally from Evansville too, with those other two guys, so it was interesting to know how close to home it really was. So the tour for that was it opening shows for bigger bands, which I know some of it was, and then was it all headlining stuff in clubs and that kind of stuff? Can you talk a little bit about that for us?
Yes, it was both, Bill. I remember in Texas we had our own record bin in the Cactus record store. There was a separate bin for Why on Earth, and I thought that was really cool. But we actually headlined over In Excess in Texas on their first tour. That was cool. But the Action album, it probably sold 25 copies. 50.
Really?
I don't know, sold, but I don't know, a few thousand, I guess. But yes, that was I like that record.
That was good stuff. Really good stuff.
Thank you.
Are those still available? Excuse me, still available at any point, or is?
I think you can get them through me.
Through you.
Yeah, that's demise to find them at this point. But
right.
Jeff Allen, he put both records on CD. So if you guys want a copy of those, I can get you those.
Awesome.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be. What was I going to? So anyway, so how long did you go with Why on Earth, or about what point did you end up leaving then?
Okay, so in 1988, Dwayne quit. When Dwayne quit, Dwayne was the founder of the band, and when he quit, and Jason, we had to fire Jason from drinking too much, but. After that, we tried to continue on with the same name, and I said, this isn't Why on Earth. And it turned into a short-lived title called Rocket Alley that lasted about 4 or 5 months. And then I called it quits, and I called my friend Mark Chatfield, who played in the Godz, and I said, hey, Why on Earth is breaking up. And he said, hey, Joe, we're looking for a guitar player. So at that point, I drove to Columbus, Ohio, and joined the Godz.
Okay.
It was the spring of 1988.
Now I noticed on that one there, did you play bass the whole time in that, or did you kind of switch instruments up? I know the one video that I looked at today, it was showing you were playing bass on that.
The Godz?
Yeah. Or no, I'm sorry. No, I'm thinking of Stonewall. I'm sorry, Stonewall.
That's later.
Yeah. But the Godz, yeah, you did play guitar on that one. I'm sorry. I remember that. Yeah. Oh, I got to tell you, I'm very non-professional.
He's used to getting a bunch of crap. Don't worry about it.
All the time.
Can you come here a second? So go ahead.
Oh, so anyway, so the Godz, then did you how long did you travel with those guys and perform?
The Godz was I was in the Godz. I joined them in the spring of 1988, and they're originally from Columbus, and we relocated right away to Los Angeles.
Okay.
There, I lived in Los Angeles from 1988 to 1992, playing with the Godz, and actually the movie Decline of the Western Civilization Part 2.
Right.
The Godz were supposed. Thank you. The Godz were supposed to be in that movie, but
Really?
had left the band around 1990 to rejoin Bob Seger, and then Kevin quit the band to join Cinderella. So the Godz kind of came to a standstill at that point. We then became a three-piece with a drummer named Mike Strikes, who's passed away. So it was Eric and I, and for a while we called ourselves the Eric Moore Band, but it was always the Godz. And but my favorite, Mark Chatfield and Eric Moore were the Gene and Paul to me of the Godz. It was a pleasure for me to play with them for the short time that I did. But the reality of the matter was, living in LA in 1988, 89, rent was almost $700 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. So I was working at a pet store selling animals to Jodie Foster, Meryl Streep, Vincent Price, Rutger Hauer, people like that. And so that's how I made my living. I remember stealing steaks from the Pavilion's grocery store to try to stick him down. I got caught for it, and I remember doing that. Trying to just survive. It was hard. And then we played many cool shows out there. Opened up. We played the Whiskey a whole lot. I lived 3 blocks away from the Whiskey, 3 blocks south, and we played Coconut Teaser, and but the truth of the matter is the Godz never made money there. The only place they made money was in Ohio, where they were from originally. They got paid money. I remember New Year's Eve, actually I think it was going into 1999 to 2000. We played the Alrosa, where Dimebag was killed.
Wow.
That club, that was
kind
of the. Where are you going, Alan? You got to pee?
He's busting you, Alan.
You better act interested, damn it.
I had to let my dog out. Did y'all notice the dog in the background flipping around?
Hey, is that a code word for something? You had to let your dog out. Sorry.
I remember a gig at the Alrosa Villa, where it was kind of the Godz headquarters. Anywhere in Columbus was Godz. They were from Columbus, so that was the biggest band from Columbus, basically. And I was proud to be a part of that. But New Year's Eve, 1999, going into 2000, I remember playing a show there, and we had an ounce of cocaine Delta dashed from LA to Columbus, and we received it about 10 minutes till midnight before we were supposed to go on, and naturally we indulged. It was a fun night.
And then how'd that show go?
Fast.
Actually, it's on YouTube. You can watch Criminal Mind.
Okay.
The song is on YouTube. It's on That Was the Night, so you can see me playing guitar on that.
So you're talking about being in LA in the in '88 and living 3 blocks from the Whiskey or whatever. The hair band stuff was high rolling at that point in time. Was there much? I mean, was that still really going on as much on on Sunset Strip or had those bands kind of broke out and now it was just new bands trying to get in? And how did that did that affect you guys playing there and stuff like that?
Well, in '88, when lived there, it was pretty much a carefree stroll along Sunset Strip where bands, I saw Pantera or somebody. Everybody was handing out flyers on the strip, and it was like you were allowed to do that. And when I went back with Stonewall Weekend to do showcase shows at the Roxy and stuff with them, it was different. They started putting a ban on loitering on the strip, and that was it kind of sucked at that point. But yeah, there was all the hair bands were passing out flyers between '88 when I was there, '88 and '92. They were passing out flyers, and it was a fun time to all the spiked up hair guys and girls. And after I went back with Stonewall Weekend, I noticed it had changed, and it was sad.
Right.
Do you remember seeing anybody during that time that you thought they'll never make it, and they just exploded and became huge?
Well, I remember standing outside the Roxy and talking to Bill Bailey, otherwise known as Axl Rose.
Okay, they made it.
When Why on Earth played in Lafayette, Indiana, at a place called, I think it was called Nick's, there was this scraggly red-haired kid outside the backstage door because he couldn't get in because he was like 17 or 18, and Why on Earth was playing. And I would go outside and talk to this kid on the stairway, and it was Axl Rose. It was Bill Bailey.
Wow.
And so I talked to him in front of the Roxy in the Rainbow, and I said, hey, looks like you've done pretty well for yourself. This was '88 after, of course, the big breakout, Guns N' Roses. And I talked to him. I said, hey, you remember me, JoJo from Life? He goes, oh, I love Why on Earth. And it's good to see you again. I said, hey, it's good to see you again. I said, it looks like you're doing pretty well for yourself these days. And so, and then I saw him a few more times at Coconut Teaser and a few more times. But, fellow Hoosier. Yeah.
That's cool.
Cool. That's cool.
So as far as then with the Godz, and what happened to that? I know you said that some people left on that one again, and then
it basically came down to a financial situation.
Oh.
I had to make a living, and also while I was in the Godz, Jason and I would write songs back and forth in the mail. We'd send cassettes to each other.
Right.
And so that kind of formed Stonewall Weekend.
Right.
During the Godz, there were some songs the Godz did that ended up on Stonewall Weekend CDs. Another Night in Hollywood was one. And,
Right.
All Night for You was one. So we had been writing songs back and forth in the mail, because we didn't have internet back then. And so, like I said, the Godz only made money in the Midwest, and I was fighting to survive. It came down to a financial thing.
Right.
So, once I left the Godz probably '92, I think early '92, and moved back to Indianapolis, and then quickly moved to Orlando, Florida, with my singer that I play with now, named Rick Leffler.
Right.
We played a few acoustic shows down there, and that was the first time I became a roadie for somebody, and that somebody was Paul McCartney.
Cool.
That's awesome.
If I was going to roadie for anybody, it would be Paul McCartney. But we did. It was only 5 shows, and we just did it just to meet him because he was one of our heroes. And we did, and we met him, and we sold him some pot. And I remember a show in Minneapolis that he did. He started singing Yesterday, and he sang the second verse first. Yesterday. It wasn't All My Troubles. It was the second, whatever the second verse is. But he sang the second verse first, and I go, he smoked our pot. Back then, it was like the guy that had hired us on the tour. He's passed away, sadly, too. But the guy that had got us on that tour actually had the pot that sold it to him. You had to have certain passes, like you had to have a certain pass to be in the same bathroom with them or whatever. But I had this jacket on, and this was in Kansas City. I had a jacket on, and Linda came off stage first, and I said, "Nice to meet you, Linda." And we talked a bit about her frozen food line, and and she said, "Paul fancies your jacket." And I said, "Well, give me a C note and have him sign it, and I will give it to him." And meaning that I wanted him to sign a $100 bill with his signature. And so he came off. This was after sound check. They did like an hour sound check at least. And so Paul came off, and so here he comes. The first time I met Paul McCartney, and he came off, and I said, "Your wife tells me you fancy my jacket." He goes, "Yeah, that's cool." I go, "Well, give me a C note and sign it, and I'll give it to you." And he goes, and he reached in his pockets and he pulled out nothing. He goes, "I've got this," and what he pulled out was a Blarney Stone. And I said, he goes, "I've got this," and it was his Blarney Stone. I go, "Nobody's going to believe me if I his Blarney Stone, his word stone, whatever. Nobody's going to believe me." So it was pretty much left at that, and we talked about 10 minutes after that, and I said, "Well, can I get a picture with you guys?" And we took pictures. So I have pictures.
That's cool.
So were you starstruck at all? I mean,
not at the time. My friend Rick couldn't speak at the time. I was doing all the talking. I talked to Paul probably at least 10 minutes. I said, I talked about T-Trick and about Tom Peterson having 12-string basses. And I said, have you ever played a 12-string bass? And he said, "No, I mainly play 5-string. I've got a 6-string. I've got my Rickenbacker." He goes, "In my hand, it's not that large." So we put our hands up together. His hand was against mine, and about half-inch bigger than mine. And that was cool. And I remember having M&Ms in my pocket of the jacket that Paul wanted. And I asked Linda, I said, "Would you like some M&Ms?" And she goes, "Sure. It's not LSD, is it?" I go, "Till showtime, you never know."
Wow,
that's funny. But
that's
so
cool.
anyway,
That was the band that you really got started with music in, and you ended up actually getting to work with Paul McCartney. That's awesome. There are very many people that get to say that. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I'm kind of burnt out on the Beatles, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mainly like, I grew up on Alice Cooper and glam rock stuff, Sweet, and, that stuff around that era. Really love Alice Cooper, and I have a story about that. When I was in the Godz in 1989, Alice Cooper was looking for a guitar player, and I submitted a package with videotape of the Godz, me playing in the Godz, to his manager Brian Nelson, who's passed away also. I was talking about all these people that passed away. Alice saw the video, he liked it, and he said, "Yeah, let's audition this guy." So I learned every Alice Cooper thing up to that point. This was the Trash, would have been the Trash tour, Alice Cooper.
Wow.
And so an hour before I was supposed to go to SIR Studios and audition, Brian Nelson called me. He said, "Look, Joe, don't worry about coming because we just hired somebody. But we can have a drink sometime." I said, "That sounds good." And the guy that was hired was referred by Steve Vai. I think his name was Pete Friesen or whoever was in the Trash tour at that time. And I hung up the phone and I cried tears out of my eyes. I said, I really, really wanted that gig.
Oh, yeah.
So to this day, I have never met Alice Cooper face to face. He's one of the only people that I've always wanted to meet that I have never met. Anyway.
Yeah, Bill and I, we just saw them this summer with the Motley Crue tour, and it's just every time you see him, it's perfect. I mean, he's always got a great band behind him. Still sounds great, and the theatrics are just awesome. It's just really gets into it. But
join his band, I probably would be dead by now. But
So anyway, you said you were down there with Rick and then in Orlando. So how did then where did you guys go from there, and then how did the Stonewall weekend thing start?
The Orlando thing was short-lived. After the McCartney tour, I Indianapolis. That was the winter of '93, and moved back there, and then formed. Actually, Stonewall Weekend was actually playing every time I would come home from LA while I was in the Godz. We had actually formed Stonewall Weekend, and Stonewall Weekend was basically a continuation of Why on Earth, because it had Dwayne and Jason and myself as the guitar army.
Right.
So it was pretty much a continuation of Why on Earth, although with different songs, and which Jason and I wrote, which I really felt very strong about those songs, more so than the Godz, and that made me want. That was another reason why I wanted to leave the Godz, not only financially, but I believed in the songs more. So Stonewall Weekend had our own record label for the first CD, and the second CD we got signed out of a record label out of Kissing, Germany, called Long Island Records, and they distributed our second CD, Hungry for More, all over Europe, and Australia, and New Zealand, and so we did sell a lot of CDs there. And I went on a promotional tour, a radio promotional tour in 1994. I visited Zurich, Switzerland, Munich, Germany, Venice, Florence, Rome, Italy, where I was at a acoustic Stonewall Weekend show in Rome. So yeah, then, sadly to say, would have been great. After that, the record label went bankrupt. So, but you can still find "Hungry for More" by Stonewall Weekend on Amazon.com.
Did that audio drop out on you guys?
A little bit,
Alan?
yeah.
Hey, can you? Whenever you said sorry to say, and then your audio kind of went out. If you want to repeat that again, I'm sorry.
Okay. Sorry to say that the record label in Kissing, Germany went bankrupt, and so Stonewall Weekend didn't have a record deal anymore. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you that time. Sorry.
But it was distributed all throughout Europe, New Zealand, and Australia. So we did sell quite a few CDs in that area. And after the record label went bankrupt, that was it for Stonewall Weekend. We did record what was to be a third CD that's on demo in 1999, I think, 1999. And those are cool songs too. That was Jason came up from Florida to record those. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, and then once that done, you said the LaBeatos. Tell me about that. I can't find anything about the LaBeatos. LaBeatos put out when I was with them, we recorded 2 CDs. That was around 1995. That was after Stonewall Weekend. They were from Washington, Indiana, where I originally from. So I had been living in Indianapolis and LA and Orlando between 78 and 98. In 1998, I moved back to Washington because I had met a girl that I married in 1998. And that was when I started playing the LaBeatos in 1996-ish, something around there. Okay.
And so I was traveling back and forth from Indianapolis at that point until I moved back to Washington in 1998. We had a national hit on the Bob and Tom radio show.
Right.
I think around the Monica Lewinsky time. The song was called "I Want a Date with Monica Lewinsky."
I've heard that song.
That was LaBeatos, and it's on one of their CDs actually. I forget which one, but it's on one of Bob and Tom's CDs. And we played for quite a while, probably 7 or 8 years. Alan, you're not saying much.
ever does.
I'm just listening.
That's Alan.
If you saw any other shows, you'd know this is pretty normal. Next week he's on the hook though, so
yeah, he's got a guest coming in, so he's got to do all the talking. So
You might as well just have a cardboard cutout of him.
I thought about that.
I keep thinking his videos froze up, and then all of a sudden he'll move.
blink.
Next,
All right, but anyway, so now, so after LaBeatos, anything big until now? I mean, I know you're in guilty as charged now.
after LaBeatos, I had actually become a Christian in 1997.
Okay.
I turned my life over to Christ at that point, and then I started playing in church, and so LaBeatos, or at that point was Rock Garden at the end of LaBeatos, played our last show in 2001 in Indianapolis at a place called the Cozy downtown, and because I got hired on staff at a church to be the music director.
Mm-hmm.
And so since 2001 to 2012, I was basically the music director at a large southern Indiana church.
Okay.
And, that was cool. And my favorite Christian artist is Lincoln Brewster.
Oh, cool. They're a good band.
Who played guitar for Steve Perry. He played Oh Sherry. He played the guitar and all that stuff. My favorite guitar player, Christian-wise, is Lincoln Brewster. And so that's what I was doing during that time, during the 2000s. And I was married, and I had 2 kids. I had my first child in 2005, when I was 45. I had my first kid at 45. And I had my second kid, Quincy, in 2008. So I have those 2 boys, and 2012 got divorced, and was searching for something, and now I have my girlfriend that I have now that I love, and let's see, and guilty as charged together.
Right.
Next question.
I
So
have.
that's with.
Where- so
like I
we're-
said, with-
Where can we
Oh,
find
Alan's got
guilty
a
as
question.
charged? Now we all want to talk.
See, that's why I never hardly say anything, because every time that I start to talk, it's like it's magic. All 3 of us talk at the same time. So I try not to do that. So
You guys need to go like this to each other.
Exactly.
we're going to save that for our next gathering. But anyway, I have.
The last one didn't go so.
Bill, go ahead.
Oh, Alan
Yes,
has a
sir.
question. Oh, Alan, you go.
Okay, if you insist. I have a kind of a 2-part question, I guess. The first part of the question is, I know you've opened for quite a few national acts. I watched the When the Axe Falls tribute video, and I saw that you guys were on stage, and the KISS logo was in the background. I saw some pictures of you guys with Rob Halford. So the first part of my question is, who is somebody that you guys have opened for that you just thought was, oh my God, this is the most nice person, greatest person, or, something like that? Who were you really impressed with that you had opened for?
That would have been KISS. It was Creatures of the Night tour, and it was Vinnie Vincent's 4th gig. I remember we were playing the Calumet in Jasper, and my brother Bill, who was our lighting director, I had got the call from Bob McCutcheon from Sunshine, and I told my brother Bill, I said, hey Bill, guess who's opening for KISS in Terre Haute in 2 weeks? And he goes, Rush? I go, no. Bob Seger? And I go, no. I said, we are. And I remember that day, and it was January 1st, 1983. And I remember being backstage. I remember getting ready to go on stage, thinking, "This is the shit." I mean, we have arrived. This is we're playing an arena. We're opening for one of the biggest bands in the world, And I remember touching the rail, walking up to the stage, thinking, "This is the shit," you know. And I was nervous until I touched the rail, and I walked on stage. And once I walked on stage, it was no problem at all. It was give it all you got for 30 minutes. And I remember that was when they had the tank stage with the treadmills going out. And the first song when you walked on the treadmills, and their roadies go, "Get the fuck off those treadmills or no monitors, you're cut off." So we got off until the last song we got on them again. But I remember holding the railing and just saying, "This is the shit. This is the real deal." And that was, I'll never forget that.
Okay, so on the opposite end of that spectrum, who have you opened for that was just a real, I mean, and don't answer it if you don't want to, but is there anybody that you've opened for that you thought was just a total tool and you would never ever deal with them again?
Ace Frehley.
I can believe
This
that.
is my shocked look.
Why on earth opened for Ace Frehley in Louisville, Kentucky? And it was at a theater downtown. I forget the name, at Macaulay Theater or something. I forget the name, but he was in his dressing room, and he was my idol. I mean, I really wanted to meet him. And so he was backstage working on his own smoke pickup himself. And I thought to myself, that's weird. Why is he working on his own guitar? Why doesn't he have a guitar roadie? But he was doing it by himself. And so I approached his dressing room with the intention of saying hello, you know, I admire you, blah, blah, blah. But there was this little boy, probably 5 or 6 years old, that was next to me, and his father, I think his father might have been the promoter or something, but the little boy had a Ace Frehley doll in his arms, and as they approached the door ahead of me, Ace looked outside the door and took his foot and kicked the door, slammed it shut, and the little boy started crying. And I didn't meet him that night.
No.
Wow.
Well, that was...
That's a bummer.
Yeah. Another time in Orlando where he just stayed on his bus forever, and I said, you know, I don't want to wait 2 hours to meet him, so I left. So I've never met Ace Frehley or Alice Cooper. 2 guys I still want to meet.
I would venture to guess if you got to meet Alice, it would be a great experience because he just seems like a really nice guy.
He is
yeah.
very, very good. And Ace, I would tell him that story when I met him too.
And the problem is he wouldn't give a shit.
Or remember it.
He won't remember it.
You know what? You catch rock stars on bad days. Sometimes they have bad days, you know?
Sure.
If you were to meet him in a grocery store, he might be cordial and things would be different.
Real quick, my band got to open up for John Mellencamp at the Toyota concert when I work at Toyota, and we won a battle of the bands and did it. And I met John Mellencamp that night, and he was the biggest asshole I've ever met in my life. I mean, he was almost to the point he was rude. And I'm like thinking, here you're a guy from Indiana too. You should be, his band was just phenomenal. They were so nice, and hey, you guys, you sound great and everything. And
John Gannell, the bass player, the black guy.
Yes, and he was the one that come out there and listened to us. We put wigs on. Very nice guy.
He's a very good friend of mine.
Yeah, he's real nice.
Yeah, he's a very good friend of mine. And I know his band. I never met him, John himself, but
Right.
he went to a broadcasting school at Vincennes University with my older brother John. And my older brother John says, yeah, he always used to bum cigarettes off of me. And I've heard that from people that John Mellencamp used to bum cigarettes off everybody. So I think he can afford his own cigarettes now.
Yeah. He was not very polite. Matter of fact, the guy that was playing bass in our band, he co-wrote a song with John Mellencamp's cousin. I think it was called Grandview USA or something like that. I can't remember the name of the song, but he made a point to say, when we met him, he goes, hey, my name's, and he said, I helped co-wrote that song. And instead of John going, hey, thank you and all that stuff, he's like going, John looked at him right in his eyes and said, I just never did like that song, and walked on.
What song was it?
I think it was called Grandview USA or something like that. I can't. I'd have to look it up or have to ask him.
I used to play in a band in the 80s or 70s called Little Girls with Dave Parman, and Dave Parman was on John Cougar's first few albums.
Okay.
Writer.
Yeah, this was. I think it's his. I'm thinking it's Mike, not Mike Clark. I can't think of the guy's name, but he's John's cousin. What?
Mike Wanchek?
No. Anyway, but yeah, it's.
Cool.
Bill, what was you wanted to ask something there?
Oh, I don't know. I think it left.
You were just amazed to see Alan do something, right?
Yeah, I was shocked. Oh yeah, because we were back talking about that. I can't remember what we were talking about before that. I don't remember. Oh, I do. I wrote it down. So, guilty as charged. Sorry, I wrote it down. I mean, I had a notepad because the age thing is I can't remember crap, obviously. So, I'm 50. I just turned 50.
I'm older than you.
Yeah. So guilty as charged. Where can we find them?
Actually, I think they're kind of on the demise at this point, but you never know. I'm doing some acoustic things. I'm playing in Tell City next Saturday with Rick, the singer of Guilty as Charged.
Poorhouse?
Say what? Poorhouse, yes. Love that place. And that's where I met my significant other again after 30 years. Yeah. Guys, come here, honey. Come here. Just.
We've already seen her once. It's fine. We won't mock her. Or anything.
There's pictures on my Facebook page. She doesn't like me to post anything, but yeah. She's my significant other who we met at the Poorhouse. So and she will unfortunately not be able to be there next Saturday. Anyway, so next question.
Oh, anyway, just to kind of wind things up, where was I at? Oh, you say you've got a studio.
Yes.
And is it an open studio where you do work for other people, or is it more your home? I mean, I guess you.
It's both. I haven't done anybody else for a while, but I did a lot.
Right.
But I'm starting to write more in this year, especially with my new friend.
Right.
She's purchased a couple of new guitars for me that I've been writing on.
I've seen those on Facebook. They look nice.
So yeah, anything that inspires her inspires me.
All right. Hey, JoJo, I tell you what, we sure appreciate you being on. Like I said, we've had a good time. Love hearing the stories. It was awesome.
And there's many more that need to be untold.
Okay, well, I tell you what, at some point, we'll get you back on. We'll get you where your voice is a little bit louder, too. I think Alan's going to be able to fix that one. He'll fix that. So, anyway, we're going to wrap this up. And like I said, we'll talk to you guys later.
Sounds great.
Thanks. All right.
Thank you, Joe.
All right.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.